I got my Manscaped way before we started advertising it because I use my Manscaped to shave. Because being an African American, we have to be careful what we use to shave with because we don't want to get razor bumps and things like that. So I brought this a while ago because it gives me a clean, smooth shave. So why don't you use the code MyBest11Pod? You get 20% off. Manscaped.
Welcome to another episode of My Best 11 podcast. We are joined today by a central defender who started his career at Luton and worked very closely with Marv whilst at Luton, and then seems to have done a bit of a journey around the Midlands. Even though he's a London boy himself, he's played for pretty much every Midlands club. I think he's only got a couple to go. He's got the full set. So working his way through West Brom, then Villa, Leicester, Birmingham, and a large portion of time at Hull, and is currently playing at Derby County at the moment. We are joined by Curtis Davies. How are you, Curtis?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. And Marv, how are you, Marv? All over in the States.
I'm starting to feel a little bit old now because we're getting these guests now where I've helped. I mean, I wasn't totally involved on my own. I helped John Moore, obviously, towards the back end of him retiring, and Curtis, and we got Curtis Davis today, and we had Kevin Foley a few weeks ago. So yeah, a little bit old, shall we say?
I think it's interesting you say that, Marv, because I think you do yourself a disservice because obviously, listen, I credit John for a lot of things in my career, but you know, John was old school. So in terms of the fundamentals of defending and things like that, I learned from John. But in terms of, I'm going to give you a lot of credit here. You using the ball, playing out from the back, things like that, which obviously modern day football is, everything's about that now. You instilled that first step, and that's what helped me in terms of, because you pretty much took over the team in my third year. So even though I was in and around the first team, so sometimes I travelled the first team, when I came back to play with the youth team, we were playing a good style of football. We were playing a style of football that when you step into the first team, that's what is expected of you. So I have to give you credit for that because you put us on the path in terms of that side. So you can just shrink your head down a little bit, fit back in the screen.
It's too late. You've put it out into the universe. People cannot see now. Obviously, the podcast, if you're not watching this on YouTube, I am smiling. My head is like Curtis said, is as big as the screen is, and I can't even see him and Andrew now. I can't see them. All I can see is my head.
No, I say I have to be honest. That's how I felt. I think I always remember a random one where I think I'd played for the first team, and then like Boise or Coyne, whoever had missed the game, had come back. So I was still on the bench and things like that. And then there was a game where I think we might have had a weekend off, so I went to play for the youth team because obviously we didn't have reserves. Right. And I remember we played Swansea at home. I always remember it, and we battered them 3-0. And we absolutely bopped them off the park with football. And it was just like, that's what I'm saying. And even do you remember we went to Arsenal and we played Arsenal's kids? And I'm playing against like one of my best friends, Justin Hoyt, who's over in America. Played against him, you know, you had the likes of Jordan Fowler, who was really good at that age. I think Anthony Stokes played in the game. He was a bit young, but he played in the game, things like that. And I think we lost 3-2 in the end, but this is considering all of these guys are full. Yeah, England internationals, Ireland internationals, a couple of Spanish players and things like that. So it shows that, you know, from even though we were a Luton side that, you know, on paper, who are these kids? Do you know what I mean? But once as a collective, the way we played, and obviously a lot of us went on to play for not only Luton's first team, but have a career. I think it's credit to the system that we had at Luton, but also the hunger and everything that was instilled in you to obviously strive for that little bit more rather than accepting what's in front of you.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. But I was just giving you back what I had been taught. And so in effect, John Moore did, because he was with the youth set when I first joined alongside David Coates. And so it's only what I was given, like, about just try and play.
Yeah.
Excellent.
No, I think
Excellent. So what we'll do is we start off with our formation. So we'll go through those people who haven't listened to this podcast before. We start off with formation, then we go through the team. And as we work our way through the team, Curtis will give us a few clues and Marv will see if he can guess some. I'll see if I can guess some as we go as well. So listeners, listen in, see if you can guess who Curtis is talking about as we work our way through the team. So we'll start off with formation, Curtis.
Okay, so formation. This is a formation I would like to play if I had the right players. It's a bit more modern than when I played for Luton Town or anything like that. But I'm going to go with a 4-2-3-1 because the strength is in my the strength is majorly in my three, basically. Not that the rest are bad, but the strength is in my three, the attacking threat. So do you want me to start off with my goalkeeper then, or?
Let's go.
Yep,
Let's go.
The stage is yours, Gaffer.
Okay. So I was fortunate enough to play with some good keepers in my time. I played with Ben Foster at Birmingham, Marlon Beresford at Luton, who was a massive help for me as a young pro stepping into the game. I never ever thought I knew it all, but was quite confident. But the little things extra that you needed to learn or needed to know, and when you make that mistake, he's helping you with how you could have improved on things like that. That was important for me in that first year, being in the first team. Even though we were winning every week because we got promoted, it's really important for me for moving forward, because it was obviously a very important time in my development. But I also played with Dean Kiley, another one that, again, I went to West Brom and he was there. He was brilliant in terms of the talking and helping you out. But the one I'm going to go with, this should be quite an easy one. So I played with him at Aston Villa. He played for Aston Villa, played for Blackburn, Aston Villa and Tottenham in the Premier League. And to give you an extra big clue, I believe he still has it, but he had the record for most consecutive Premier League games.
Is he an international?
He was an international. Yeah, he was an international, a US international.
Yes, Marv, come on, Marv.
Oh, I think I've got it. Have you got it, Andrew?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I got it on the consecutive games thing.
I think
he still holds the record.
Is it Brad Friedel?
Yeah, Brad Friedel. Yeah, I think it was something ridiculous, like close to 300 games that he played in a row, like across Blackburn to Aston Villa. I remember he got sent off for Aston Villa against Liverpool, and luckily for him, the red card got rescinded, because if not, his record would have been maybe 60 odd games short. But yeah, he was a fantastic player in terms of turning up as an experienced older goalkeeper. Again, able to help me in that next stage of my career. I'd been at Luton in League One, stepped into West Brom, where even though West Brom was Premier League, there was not much expected of us. So, going to Villa, a big club where we're fighting for sixth place every year, or fighting for the top six, every year, potentially trying to push for Champions League. He was big for me, because the way he used to speak in terms of the balance, that when you maybe think you've had a bad game or been in a bad position, you can ask him and he'll help you out and tell you, no, I think you're in the right position, blah, 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 but maybe you could do this, do that. He was excellent at that. And he was just all round an unbelievable guy. I think, is he still at Columbus Crew? Or no, sorry, he was at New England, wasn't he? Coaching.
I think he was.
Yeah. So he was coaching at New England. But yeah,
goalkeeper. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, and as a goalkeeper in general, like for somebody, like I say, turned up, I think he was in towards his late 30s, so older than me when he came, and he was still unbelievable shot stopper every part of the game in terms of coming out to catch things, punches. He was very, very steady. And even, pre-season, it comes to the running, and, goalkeepers aren't good at running anyway.
Yeah.
And you'll never believe me if I say this, but he used to beat Nigel Reo-Coker in the running. And that's not a joke. He used to do the bleep test, and Nigel Reo-Coker, as you know, is one of the fittest players alive on a football pitch. When it comes to running, he hasn't got it. But Brad Friedel used to get like 13.5 on the bleep test. So the standard, So the standard thing is, get to 12.5, and then you should make 13, and then you kind of can drop out, and that's respectable. But when a keeper's next to you and he's still going, it's a bit embarrassing for a few lads. But yeah, like I say, that shows the professionalism of him, that he didn't need to do that. Like a couple of goalkeepers dropped out to the side, to be honest. But it's just he wanted it because that's what kept him going and kept him. I think he played at Tottenham until he was 41, 42. So fair play to him, because he's had a fantastic career and he's, like I said, he's a really great guy.
Here's a question for you. Then I played with an American goalkeeper, and you know what they say about goalkeepers being a little bit like not after the brush to say. But Jurgen Sommer, who I played with, he was smart. He's American, and I just look at Brad Friedel, and he looks like he's not after the brush. He looks like he's not going to have that same mantle as a brush as a goalkeeper. Is that true, or was he?
Yeah, 100%. Totally switched on. One of the most normal people you meet, let alone for a keeper, he's ultra normal. And that's what, because obviously keepers have always got, even if it's not, they're loud or they're aggressive or have got a tick, usually keepers have got something that they're kind of, maybe they're obsessive in the gym and they do loads of stuff and lift loads of weights. But he didn't have anything. He was just calm, knew his body, did his stretches in the morning, looked after himself, did a bit of yoga to keep him supple, things like that, but very intelligent guy as well. I had a question yesterday by, I was doing an under 16s thing with Derby, doing a question and answer, and they asked me who would I have as if you were in the £1 million question for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, who would be your, the one you'd called. I actually said Jonathan Spector, because he's very intelligent as well, another US international, but I'd probably go with Brad because he's had a few more years experience, because they're the type that we're all reading, be it Nuts magazine and whatever on the coach 442, and he sat there with his legs crossed reading the Financial Times. So that's
who did he room with? Who did he room with at Villa?
At Villa, we were fortunate enough, we had our own rooms, so he would have been on his own. But it's usually keepers with keepers most of the time, to be honest. But if Brad roomed with a fellow keeper or oldest person in the team or youngest person in the team, he would be fine. He used to look after the young lads brilliantly. And like I say, great guy and a privilege to play with him.
Excellent. So we'll move on to right backs.
Right back. So again, I've played with, a few different right backs. I played with Luke Young, obviously an England international, played with him at Aston Villa. I think he was obviously excellent. Didn't get the credit that he deserved at the club. I think the way he got treated sometimes by Martin O'Neill, wasn't great. Obviously played with Kev. We spoke about Kev before coming on, and Kev, we were like, the thing with Kev is our relationship. When we grew up together through that youth team, and then we all got to the first team together. Kev got in there before us, before the likes of myself and Stephen O'Leary, things like that. But he jumped into the first team the year before, and when I got into the team and I was a regular, we always used to be right side, strong side. So it was me and him along that right side, and we always look after each other. So it was, I'm not just doing it for the team. I'm not just doing it for myself. I need to cover Kev, and Kev needs to cover me. So we had that relationship where, we could rely on each other in terms of he's ready to take a kick for me or take a yellow or whatever it's going to be. And that was massive because, going into the team with, as much as, I've trained with him, things like with intimidating characters like Nico, like Howie, Sol Davies when he's raging. It could be intimidating to someone, but to know you've got your mate beside you to sort of lean on when, Kev, that was all right, wasn't it? It weren't that bad a pass. Kind of to boost your ego a little bit was big. But yeah, unfortunately, Kev didn't make the team though. I played with a couple of, El Mohammadi at Villa now, Odubejo. I played him at Hull, excellent player. I think if he hadn't had his injuries, he would have been in the Premier League, no doubt. Carl Norton at Leicester, brilliant relationship we had. Again, talking about that right side, when I went to Leicester, Sven said to me, express yourself. I know what you do, express yourself. So me and Norts used to do 1-2 up the right-hand side. I used to end up putting balls in for little through balls to Howie when I'm a centre-half. So that was fun. But the person I'm going to pick for my team started his career at Tottenham. He played for Newcastle and then played for Birmingham. He's an international player. I played with him at Birmingham. His life
Yes.
now, I believe he's still living there, but he lives in Spain.
I know who you're talking about. Oh my gosh, he's. I mean, he's quite. He's older than you, isn't he? Quite a bit older than you, is he
Yeah,
not?
yeah. So,
He's
so
Yeah, sort
Irish.
of.
Irish, is he?
Yes, yeah,
correct.
yeah,
Yeah, he'll
Yeah.
be about 8 years older than me, maybe 9 years
yeah.
older than me.
Oh, I think is it
Is he
Stephen
gone?
Carr?
Stephen Carr.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah,
done,
so-
Andrew.
I
Yep.
couldn't think of his name. I
Yeah.
could see him, but I couldn't think of his name. Stephen Carr.
Yeah, the reason I've gone for
Great
Stephen
player.
Carr is, I've played with players in the 21s as well, like Justin Hoyt and things like that.
Yeah.
But I played 1 or 2 games with him. Whereas Kari was he was a machine, like just finely tuned, ultimate, no nonsense. I'm not talking about his football. He's a great footballer, but I mean, no nonsense, wants to win, absolute, like, bred to win. He didn't like losing in training. He didn't like loose balls in training. So the standards that he required from the team in training on the pitch, he was the captain. It made a massive difference to us at Birmingham. We had a lot of young lads coming through the team when, after we got relegated, literally pretty much the starting 11 left except for him. And, we then had to rebuild with like a young team with the likes of Nathan Redmond coming into the side, and a few others. So with him there to still have that level of experience to go with it, but also to, keep lads on their toes. Because sometimes, when you've got a lot of young lads together, it's easy because, like I said about me and Kev playing together, you can lean on your mate and be like, oh, that's all right, it's okay, blah, blah, blah. But Kari's standards were just there. Yeah. And when I talk about the hardest worker, he was 37 at the time. I think I was around 26, 27, and he was 37, and he would outrun everyone. So pre-season, front of the running. He used to go in after a session, if he felt he hadn't done enough, he'd go on the bike. He'd literally have a big jumper on. He'd have a towel on the floor. He'd do like an hour on the bike. Like I say, finely tuned machine. Great guy in terms of, have a drink with him. He's a scary guy. Don't get me wrong. If you don't really get into his, like, not his circle, but if you don't really get into those chats with him where, some of the looks he'll give are quite intimidating. But if you start to know him, he's a brilliant guy. And like I say, I had some good times with him on Christmas dues and things like that. But yeah, what a guy, great guy. I think he's living in Spain now. He's part of the La Sala people that owned it. So I think he's still out there, I believe. But yeah, good guy, great professional, and yeah, what a player.
Just to take you back, obviously I'm not an ex-pro, Marvin, yourself are. You mentioned that Steve Carr is a winner and all he wants to do is win, win, win. To me as a fan, that slightly confuses me because you naturally think that everybody on the pitch, and this is a question to both of you probably, would want to be a winner. And it strikes as a strange comment to make. I'm not saying it's a wrong comment, but do you know what I mean? It kind of, surely everybody wants to win every game all the time. That's why you're professionals. That's how the difference between a normal person and a professional footballer. So what made the difference between him and a standard? I mean, are there players out there who don't want to win all the time? And do you understand what I mean? I'm not trying to trip you up here. I'm just trying to.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, sorry to interrupt you there, but certain players have standards where, like, everyone wants to win. Don't get me wrong, but it comes to now when you're training on the training field. Actually, it could be like, I mean, I'll take me as an example. If I'm now working with the girls, what I'm working here now with Andrew, and I say to him, look, we're going to play head tennis volleys, I'm going to beat them, right? And if they beat me, right, they've earned that, right? And that's the standard. I'm like, of me trying to give them the respect that I don't care, right? Listen, I've coached obviously boys, but yes, your girls, I'm going to give you the same sessions, the same drills, exactly the same thing if I was coaching a professional team, because that's the respect I'm giving you. And I'm going to give you the same respect, and I'm going to give you nothing if I'm going to play at anything. It could be like chess, it could be snap. I don't care, right? I'm not giving you anything.
That is exactly it.
It could be the same. It could be the same.
Okay.
No, but that's exactly it. It's the training side, Sometimes, at 37 years old, you maybe go out there think, I'll just get through this session, because maybe the body doesn't hold on so well, so you know how to manage yourself through all these games and things like that. You play around robin, and it's like, look around your team, you're thinking, not too sure today we're going to win this or whatever. Sometimes that's how it is. You want to win, but you sometimes don't back yourself. Whereas Kari he didn't care if he was with 4 of the kids. We're winning this, and he'd be on them, he'd be shouting, and it's standards. And I'm not saying a lot of players don't have standards, but his standards were there, match day standards every time. Every time he trained, he wanted that match day standard. And, you know, he didn't accept that, you know, some people are going to come off of it because they're nursing an injury or they're carrying something, so they're going to take it a little bit easier. But Kari was 100% on nothing. And that's I think that's a better way to describe him. 100% on nothing over him being a winner. He is a winner, but that's what it was. You know, if he had a knock and he was training, he wasn't going to slowly hold it back. He was going to go for it. And if it goes, it goes. That was his mindset. I'm only going to be stronger for getting through this rather than holding back. And then when I get to a game, I'm going to be like, do you know what I mean? A bit, you know, you're not going to go for that tackle or something because you haven't done it all week. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
It's an interesting question, though.
Left back.
Question. No, it was a good question.
Yeah.
Left backs.
So left back. Again, I've played with under 21s. I played with Leighton Baines. Fantastic player, fantastic career. What a left foot. But I can't have him in. Yeah, I can't have him in just because I think I've played 1 or 2 games with him. So I think it'd be a disservice to have him in there.
How hard was this for you to do, by the way? I mean, to make this list.
I think I change my 11 every time I do it. Every time, so you're doing a Q&A with the kids yesterday, they didn't ask me, but I've done a few where say, I'll name your 11 like off the cuff, and it's like, and I think honestly, I change it all the time. So it's like, obviously you start to overthink and things like that. But so like obviously Baines, I've never involved him because I only played a game and I don't really count that. You know, I played with Sol, who would go for a brick wall, the toughest, one of the toughest players I've ever played with. You know,
one of the most famous tackles ever, isn't it? That Stoke City tackle, where he just came out of nowhere and just
wiped out Ricardo Fuller. Yeah, well, he got
the biggest man on the pitch,
didn't he? He got his payback after. So, but
did he? What do you mean by that?
We could talk about it later.
Yeah.
But so there's Sol, and I've also played with Paul Robinson, another one that was like tough, hard as nails. Not the biggest, but hard as nails. You'd back him in a 50-50 if it were a 90-10 against him because he's so determined, so tough. But the one I'm going to go with, and this isn't in hindsight, I honestly believe the job he did was good for the team that we were in, and it's Andy Robertson. And the reason I've picked him is more so for the promotion year. You know, a lot of questions have always been asked about Robbo and the way he defends. You know, is he a good enough defender? And, you know, at times in the first year in the Premier League, he found it a bit tough, having come from Scotland, you know, maybe get a bit more opportunities or a few more, you can make a few more mistakes. But, you know, in the Premier League, you got Zaha or someone going up against you, they beat you, they're putting it in this, someone scoring. So he maybe found it a little bit hard the first year, but I'm giving them the credit because when we went down and we had him on one side and Moses Odubajo on the other side as attacking fullbacks, because, you know, I'm a centre-half, I wasn't holding them back. They were going to win us the games. They were fantastic. And talking about defending, he got better with his defending. And we see him now, you know, he's playing for Liverpool, won the Champions League, won the Premier League, Scotland captain. And, you know, it's easy for me to say in hindsight, oh yeah, Andy Robertson, but I'm not talking about what he's done since. I'm talking about the year we got promoted, and then from the year we got promoted to step up to the Premier League again, and then look like a player that belonged. I think that was a big thing for him. And like I say, I keep saying it, but great lad, funny lad, proper lively, like your annoying little brother, always like playing a prank or playing a joke or trying to wind you up and do something. So he's got good banter as well. I think you've probably seen from his social channels that he's quite active. So yeah, he'd be the one that I'd choose as my left back, simply because of, like I say, how he grew in those few years that I played with him.
And I say, I'm not being disrespectful in any way, but I didn't really remember him when he was with you at Hull for those 2 years, like playing the way how he plays now. I mean, he obviously he did, but he didn't stand out to me. It wasn't the case of like me thinking, "Whoa," do you know what I mean? I didn't see it.
That's the difference though, because like I say, going from us being a top team in the Championship, he could do what he wanted in terms of not doing what he wanted, but most games we were going to have the upper hand. We had Mo Diarmi, Hoddleston, Jake Livermore, like people in midfield, like unbelievable players throughout our team. So ultimately, he was able to get forward and join in with those players because they're that good. So we often or not would have the ball more often, and therefore he could get higher up the pitch. But yeah, it was just down to me and Dorse to make sure that he comes sprinting back, because I played on the left side, so I'd send him on. But as long as when I scream at him, he runs back. It was good as gold.
Awesome. So centre backs, getting onto your own domain.
Yeah. So centre backs, I always go with the centre back in terms of the partnership. You know, it's not necessarily the name. I base it on my best partnerships that I had and people that, you know, I built something with. And, you know, I played at Luton with Boise and Coyne. I only played a couple of games with Boise, played obviously a whole season with Coyne and we got promoted. You know, played with Olof Melberg, Martin Larsson, Harry Maguire, James Chester, played with Marcus Heikkinen, played briefly with Richard Dunn and James Collins at Villa. But my first centre back I'm going to pick, I don't believe you'll get him.
No, give us a chance.
Yeah?
Give us a chance. Give me a chance.
If
Give
we're
me
here
a
all day,
chance.
so
International. Is he an
this
international?
not an international. So this
Okay.
player is a Spanish player, not an international. I played with him at Aston Villa. He played centre half, sometimes played right back. After Aston Villa, I believe he played for Rangers before Aston Villa, and before Rangers he played for Osasuna. So he got to UEFA Cup final with Rangers before signing for Aston Villa. And then after leaving Aston Villa, he went back to Spain for a short while, I believe. I think it might have even been back to Osasuna. And now he's playing in Israel.
Look at Marv as if he has an idea.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. I haven't got. I have got an idea. Hold on.
Would you like an initial or anything like that?
He's just going to say Garcia. That's all he's going to say.
No, it's not his first name. It's not his first name. It'll be his surname. I've got a name, but I don't think it's going to be. No.
Do you want an initial or do you want?
Where did he start?
Started at Osasuna, I believe. So he started in Spain, Osasuna. Yeah. When he came over, he spoke very little English. Even when I say his name, it's not going to be. Even when I say his name,
Go on then. I don't want to kill time. Go on.
So I'm going to go with Carlos Cuellar. His name is. So he never played for Spain or anything like that. But I played alongside him at Aston Villa, and the relationship we had. Like I say, when you talk about partnerships and looking after one another and covering one another and things like that, me and him were like clockwork. You know, we had some really like that season where we were obviously like going for the top four and things like that. I played alongside him pretty much all season. And, you know, we were going to Arsenal's and winning. We were like dominating Liverpool's and things like that and putting in unbelievable performances. And that was based on the collective. Me and him knew we were individually decent centre-halves. But on paper, again, like I say, you look at the Premier League at the time, probably people wouldn't have said, Carlos and Curtis are the ones to look for. But as a collective, like I say, us as a two, we worked really well. And I think we brought each other's game to another level based on the trust that we had for one another. And he's in Israel now, still playing. He's a vegan now, a proper vegan promoter.
Really?
So he's one of them. Like he used to eat steaks and everything. And now he's a vegan. So it's always strange when you see someone that used to love his food, love his meat, and all that, and now he's a vegan. But yeah, obviously, you know, some people he was always into his health and in the gym looking after his body. So maybe, you know, once he watched a couple of documentaries and learned about different things, he changed his path. But obviously, it's extended his career because he's still going and he's still fit and healthy.
And how old is he now? Would you say roughly?
I think Carlos, he maybe be. I don't think he's much older than me. Maybe 3 years. Right. So yeah. But he'll be 38 or something. 38. Maybe 39.
I'm still sure playing.
Yeah, still playing in Israel. So it's one of the big clubs, but I'd be lying if I said it was Apple. What's it called? Maccabi
Haifa or
Tel Aviv. But yeah, he's still playing over there. So he's had a good career. But yeah,
those seasons when you were probably you and him. What year was that roughly?
So that would have been my first season was 2007-8. I played with Larson, so it was 2008, 2009. So we kind of were pushing all the way. I think I played like 33, 34 games in a league, and we were pushing all the way until like about 4 or 5 games from the end for the top 4. And then we fell off of it. Just we couldn't keep up that run, and we couldn't keep relying on certain individuals to win us the games. But yeah, it was a good year, and like I say, I got in the England squad and everything like that.
That's why I brought it up, because I know I'm thinking, so well, I wonder if that was the time, because you was named in Capello's first provisional squad, and I was just trying to work out, because you're all talking about this partnership with this guy, and I was just thinking, I wonder if it's the same sort of time when like you're getting exposed now to the call up.
The partnership, like I say, probably started a bit later than that call up, but I got called up in Capello's first squad after my 9 games for Aston Villa. So literally, I'd signed from West Brom. I had a slight niggle when I signed, so I didn't play. That night, got in the team, stayed in the team. Christmas, he got sent off. I started against Wigan, scored, and then from there I stayed in the team. But I got in Capello's squad after 9 games for Aston Villa, and in my head I thought I hadn't really got going. But unfortunately for me, after that, I ruptured my Achilles for the first time at the Emirates. So, obviously had to sort of park that for the time being. But when the next season came along, started really well, got myself back fit, was back for the first game of the season. From there, I kicked on, and then I actually was in the full squad, and I was on the bench against Germany. So, it was a massive, massive thing for me. But from there, it just gave me that taste. But unfortunately for me, I was in an era of strong centre halves. Like, still had the likes of Rio hanging around, John Terry, Jolien Lescott, Jagielka, Matthew Upson. Even lads my age, Micah Richards. There were loads of centre halves. There seemed to be blessed with centre halves, and then unfortunately I was just at the back of the pack. And then but it's one of those things. It didn't happen. But yeah, I was proud to have at least been involved and to be seen on that level for a short time. But
definitely.
Yeah, definitely. It's a peak of most people's careers.
Yeah, but I'll give you my other centre half.
Other centre half. Let's go. Yes.
So this centre half, he started his career at Nottingham Forest, and then he played for Tottenham.
Got it.
And I played for him with him at Hull, and then he's now back at Nottingham Forest. You seem to have got. He's an England international.
Yeah.
So do you want to say it?
I actually think he's really underrated. Yeah, Michael Dawson. Yeah. I think he's really underrated. Again, a mate of mine who's a Spurs fan loved him. Absolutely loved him.
I think Dorsey's, he's deceiving. That's what it is. People look at him, he's quite gangly, things like that. People think he's like slow and things like that, but he reads the game so well, like unbelievably well, that it doesn't matter about his speed. He was in the right positions to clean up, to make sure like he gets the ball. And then when he gets the ball, he's a great footballer as well. Willing to play a pass, got an unbelievable diag, 60, 70 yard diag, right peg, right to left, no problem. Every time hits it now on the head. So he was brilliant in terms of, he's obviously only a year older than me. Dawson played with him in the 21s as well. But at that time when, we'd been relegated, it would have been easy, for the team to get disbanded and broken up. Like me and Dawes formed a partnership that gave us that platform. Like we talk about that platform to go and play attacking football, to go and try and win games of football rather than switch the mindset from, losing games last year and having to hang on to, no, we've got these good players, let's push them on. And me and Dawes kind of had that partnership and that leadership. He was the captain, but we were both captains in terms of the way we spoke, the way we looked after people off the pitch as well. So in terms of sharing that burden of that role, but also how good a player he was on the pitch, both with the ball, defending, heading, does the ugly stuff really well. It was brilliant. And because we got promoted that year, obviously was an excellent year for both of us as well.
No, definitely. Like I said, I think he's very underrated. Okay, what we can do is we're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsors, and then what we'll do is when we come back for the second half, we will hear about midfield and up front for Curtis Davies.
Manscaped are the new sponsors of My Best 11 podcast. These guys are absolutely awesome. pinged this across to myself and Marv not that long ago. And look at this package. The biggest thing in here and the most important thing is this. This razor is amazing. I mean, just look at it. The lawnmower. Trimming is perfect. Look at it. Look at the light. How awesome is that? So if you're struggling to see exactly where you're going, can't quite get exactly where you need to be, the light is perfect. So the Lawnmower 3.0 with your manual comes inside the box. The best bit, we've got some undies in here, boxers, briefs, jocks, depends on where you live in the world. That's what they're called there. We've also got across here, we've got ball toner in a beautiful spray. They reckon use this once a week, maybe a little bit more recently. It's up to you. Absolutely brilliant in there. And then they have the ball deodorant. Can't quite get it out right now, but the ball deodorant in there. I didn't even know they made this stuff. This is absolutely incredible. And I think this is going to be a fantastic partnership that we have with these guys. And then underneath here, absolutely beautiful, beautiful bag to stick your stuff in and to take with you whenever you go away on holiday. Great toiletries bag in there. So that's the first look. Myself and Marv will have a proper look at all this over the coming weeks as we unpack all this. But we'd like to say thanks so much to the guys over at Manscaped. And Manscaped, I'm in Australia. Manscaped sent across to Marv, based in the US, but they are across the world now. And look out on our social media feed for some fantastic offers. And of course, if you want to get 20% off and free delivery, and you'll support the podcast, use the code MyBest11Pod inside the promo code, and you'll get 20% off whatever you want.
Great. So we're back for part 2 of Curtis Davis' My Best 11 podcast. So far, we have Brad Friedel, Stephen Carr, Andy Robertson, Carlos Kira, and Michael Dawson. So we're now going to go. He's gone for 4-2-3-1. So we're now going to go for a couple of holding playmakers. Depends on which way you see it. Depends on if you're Gareth Southgate or in that two. So we'll go from there, whichever one you prefer.
Was it 4-2-3-1 or was it 4-1-3-2?
No, it's a 4-2-3-1.
Okay.
Jeez, Marv, you're getting your numbers wrong here.
I know.
I think you're still getting a bit excited about what I said at the beginning of the show. So you're getting more formation I'm playing. But
I am.
So for my midfield two, I had decisions to make. I've played with obviously Wayne Rooney at Derby, unbelievable player. But for me, obviously, I haven't played with him at his peak. He's obviously unbelievable in terms of give him a ball, he'll take the ball in the phone box, hold on to it, and then he'll be able to play a 60-yard ball without looking. Do you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. He's
your gaffer now, isn't he? He's
now the gaffer. Yeah. So he's now the gaffer. So I don't.
Does he join in?
No, he doesn't join in anymore. No, he's literally just hung his boots up. Now he's the gaffer, and that's it. I think even if we needed players, I don't think he'd join in, because he's one of them at this stage of his career. He has to train every day to make sure that he keeps a level of fitness, and I don't think he'd be able to just turn it on and join in, if you know what I mean. But obviously what he's done in his career and things like that, and I don't want to kiss his backside too much. So I think it's important that I don't have him in, because I might get some stick about it. But I mentioned earlier, I played with Nigel Reo-Coker, a player that I believe is underrated. Engine, absolute up and down, wins tackles, drive forward with the ball, knew his role. Drive forward with the ball, give it to the person that's going to supply the assist, give it to the person that's going to score the goal. That was it. That was his role, and he took to it. But again, I believe underrated, and I think he's another one that maybe was a bit unfortunate that he never quite got an England cap, because for all the games in the under-21s that he played, captained the under-21s, I believe he was on the standby list for one of the World Cups. So to be on the standby list for one of the World Cups or Euros and then never get a cap, obviously highly frustrating. But yeah, he's a good player, underrated. Also, Jake Livermore played with, still one of my good friends. England international, played for England literally, I think season 4 last.
He was in a World Cup squad, wasn't he?
He didn't make the. No,
I know
didn't make
he
the
was
squad,
sniffing
but
around the team at that time, wasn't he?
but that's the unfortunate thing. He was in the squads then, and then he didn't get to the World Cup, and then he was back in them a bit after. So it was quite frustrating for him, having played all those games. But the first, I played with Stan Petrov as well. I have to say, Steven Petrov, what a player! Unbelievable talent, unbelievable. When you talk about that work ethic, angry man syndrome when it doesn't go his way. But talking about going in the gym, doing the extras, doing the little bits that will take him that next level, especially his diet, things like that. Like us English players, especially being young, I'll go in the thing and I'm having a stir fry, I'm having this whatever, not eating unhealthily, but having this big plate. Stan will be salad, all the little bits and bobs, all the fish, all the like eggs and everything, just like looks like a lovely, colourful plate that I wouldn't enjoy. But he did that because he knew it looks after his body, and therefore he was able to perform at his best when he does that. But unfortunately, Stan doesn't make it either. But who I've gone with first of all, I have to say yes. So the first player I went with, he started his career at Derby. He then had a move to Tottenham. Whilst he was at Tottenham, he had a loan to Wolves, where he played in the midfield with Paul Ince. But then he went on to play for Tottenham and play for England. But after Tottenham, he moved to Hull City. Yep. And then after Hull City, he moved to Derby.
Yep.
So let's see if you can...
He's a big boy. He's a big boy. He's a big boy.
Where did he start? Where?
Started at Derby County.
Okay.
Before moving to Tottenham, where he had a loan spell at Wolves. And then he joined me at Hull, and then also joined me at Derby.
I haven't got it. Andrew, you better say. I haven't got it.
Tommy Hoddleston?
Yep, Tommy Hoddleston.
That's right.
Yeah.
Again,
he's a unit. Is he actually a unit? Yeah. He looks like a unit on TV.
He's a unit, but he's a freak of nature, because nobody his size, like he's got the build of like a rugby player or something, but nobody his size should have the feet that he's got. He's one of the best passers I've ever seen. Not just played with, I've ever seen. When I was speaking about Wazza earlier, can pick up a ball, hit it 6 yards. Like Tom, left foot, right foot, inside of the boot, outside of the boot, 60 yards, 30 yards. Whatever kind of pass you want, it's in his locker. Like no problem, no issue at all. And for me as a centre half that's played with him, obviously, listen, he was one of my good friends before he signed for Hull. But we had a good friendship as well. But the thing with me is that reliability. I'm the centre half when you're in the Premier League and teams are going to press you and things like that. And I know that I can just roll it in that triangle, from the left side centre half into him, and he can play it back out, or he'll take it and he'll turn. To have that reliability to know that he's not going to hide. If I'm in trouble, he's going to help me out. And I can give him the ball even when he's got maybe a man up his backside, and he's going to take it because his feet are that good. And then once he does move his body, obviously being strong, he'll be able to hit a diag to the other side, or he'll be able to drop it out to the opposite fullback. It was just, his ability was scandalous. And I think like he's actually out of the game at the moment. He hasn't got a club at the moment, which I think is a massive, massive shame, because somebody's missing that player. But I think it's just ultimately, if you're not in the Premier League, the type of player that Tom is, and obviously like in terms of maybe what his wage demands would be, it might be seen as a luxury. But I think if you're in a progressive team that want to win games and you can afford that holding number 4 or number 6, whatever you want to call him, Tom's the man that you go through all day long.
It's funny that obviously you've played with him and you've worked with him day in day out. And I've only just seen him by seeing some of his goals. The way he strikes the ball is like, we call it techers, obviously, but he's hit the ball sometimes. He's used some of his goals, and I've seen this one where it's just off the ground by maybe like 2 inches, and it's just going like an arrow, and the ball's not spinning. Sometimes people hit the ball and it spins. His ball's like just going like it's come out of a cannon or a rocket ship. It does, doesn't it? It just goes straight. It's really clean strike. Yeah,
his technique, like I say, I think because basically I almost recruited him to come to Derby. Obviously, coming to Hull, he when I'd signed before him, he was on the verge of coming from Tottenham, and I said, "Come, we've got some good players here. You'll enjoy it. We'll have a good time." Blah blah blah. and he signed for Hull, and then I managed to, recruit him for Derby as well. When I left Derby, Derby had started talking to me about Tom and saying, what about him? Say, get him. If you can get him, get him. I said, because he will take us to that next level. We had some really good midfielders there, don't get me wrong, but somebody of that know-how in terms of, one, how to get promoted from the Championship, two, of playing Champions League games. He was captain at the San Siro. Things like that. Like, to captain Tottenham in big Champions League games, I think in the quarterfinal he was the captain. So he's obviously got good stock, and he wouldn't have been at that level for that long if he wasn't such a good player. I think the only thing truly that scuppered his Tottenham career was he had a few niggling injuries, and they had the likes of the Dembélés and good players around that they maybe couldn't hold on to it. So, but listen, as a friend, obviously a great friend, but as a player, wow. Well, yeah, definitely had to be in my team. Whether he's my friend or not, he would have been in my team.
Yeah.
Right.
And the second one, again, this one's going to be quite easy. Well, I say it quite easy. Marv didn't get the last one, but this one's quite easy. So this is a player that actually he started at Aston Villa, and he started his career as basically his first introduction to the first team was playing as one of a three in the back, playing the left side of a three. So he started there. He went on to play probably, I don't know, maybe 500 games for Aston Villa before moving on and going to Man City. And then after Man City, he won the title at Man City, and then I think he maybe won a couple of titles. He went on and then signed for Everton. Stayed at Everton maybe for 2 or 3 years, and then he wound down his career at West Brom. I can give you an extra clue if you'd like, because
I think I've got it. I don't know.
Yep.
Andy, you got it? I think I've got it.
Oh yeah, this is the one that I knew would be in your team. He's that good.
Yeah.
Gareth Barry?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, record Premier League appearance holder. Now, that's not a fluke. When you talk about people, did he play for a bad team, and did he play every week because he's in a bad team? He went to Man City, turned it on. Yeah. He went to Everton, still managed to turn it on, still even hung on at the back end of his career at West Brom playing great football, because he's the unassuming one in terms of, when you talk about professionalism and things like that, he wasn't necessarily in the gym doing lots of extras and things like that. But in terms of when we got on that training pitch, he always trained immaculately. He always made sure that regardless of what was going on with his body and things like that, he if he was out there, he was out there to train properly. And he wasn't a big, shout or holler. He was our captain. He was our captain because you could rely on him. He was going to give you the 7/8 out of 10 minimum every game. Again, talking about the way I spoke about Tom, giving the ball and he'll look after it. His ball retention, I don't think I've played with a person that's got better ball retention in terms of, he'd take it so close to man up his backside and not necessarily just shovel it back to you or shovel it back to the other centre half. He'll wriggle, turn, use his body, either find a little clip down the channel, or he'll work a way out and he'll drive into the midfield. He still scored goals. Obviously, towards the back end of his career, he's playing a bit deeper, but he used to score goals for us, used to take penalties. Obviously, I think 50, 60 caps for England. Yeah. What a player. And like I say, again, when I say it's an honour, like this guy, to have been on the same team as him was a big deal. And, like I said, he wasn't that captain that was shouting, hollering and things like that, unless he needed to, don't get me wrong. But he just led by example. He just oozed class and just oozed leadership from what he did on the football pitch.
Excellent. So we'll move on to the attack, the forwards, the flair.
Okay, so my attacking three. So again, played with some good players. Nathan Redmond, played with him as a young boy at Birmingham, and I remember we played a game in the Europa League when he was 17 against Nacional, the qualifier. We'd drawn the first game 0-0, and in the second game they come to our place. Obviously, we just wanted to make sure they didn't get the away goal and we could score. Nathan Redmond tore them apart This is the team that finished, I think, 4th in Portugal, maybe 5th in Portugal. He tore them apart. He was 17 years old. He ripped them apart. Like, he had an individual, like, I think you could probably even find it on YouTube. He had an individual show reel from that game where skills, beating people, megging people, but it was effective. It wasn't just like a showboat, I'm going to do a step over and go nowhere. And that's when I knew, listen, this kid, in terms of mentality, first and foremost, this is a massive game for us. But mentality was one thing, but his ability to go and do all that was amazing. But saying all that, unfortunately, he hasn't made my team. But, you know, I also played with Robert Snodgrass, who's obviously now at West Brom. I haven't left West Ham. Hatem Ben Arfa. If I'd played more with him, he's one of the best players I've ever played with. In terms of, if I'd played more with him and if he'd been able to do it in the games, he wasn't as lazy as he was. Because his ability, unreal. You know, Ravel Morrison, another one. If Rav hadn't had all his off-field problems, ability-wise, honestly, if I became a manager tomorrow, first person I'm calling is Ravel.
Really?
And that's no lie. He's that good because I believe I've got the mentality to kind of give him a bit, but take a bit. But he's that good. I'd love him at Derby now. That's how much I rate him. And I know, listen, he's had off-field problems, but people forget he had those off-field problems when he was 18, 19, 20. He's been away for a long time, and he's 28 now, 27. So people have short-term memories that they think, oh yeah, he's a problem, blah blah. But I'd sign him tomorrow if I could. So yeah, I had Ravel, Jason Kumas, another really good player. Kumi, just very, very. What can I say? In terms of off the pitch, probably like to drink, liked to socialize with his friends, with his family, whatever, blah blah. But when he was on a football pitch, like, and I'm not talking about necessarily in training, but when he came to a Saturday, he was on it. Like, he was a scandal. Like, in terms of for a player that I didn't really know a lot about when I turned up to West Brom, because I turned up and he was on loan at Cardiff. He'd fallen out with Brian Robson. When he came back, obviously I'd heard, Kumi's a good player. I was really impressed, and he showed some really, really great ability. And another one I have to give a special mention is Burko. I think Kev mentioned him on his podcast as well. But Amit Berkovic, you know, lazy.
Everyone says that.
Yeah, lazy. One of the laziest guys on the pitch. Obviously, like I say, me and Kev played the right side, so that's why I had to look after Kev a few more times than I needed to. But in terms of big goals, big moments, ability to create something out of nothing, he was that one in our team that if it was, you know, a really, really tight game, you're looking at Burko's going to win us the game. You know, we had Howie who could go and win a header. We had Nico who could play lovely passes. But Burko, the way that he has the ability,
overhead kicks against Leicester. Yeah,
overhead kick against Leicester, unbelievable. Scoring the winner against Palace in our first game in the Championship, you know, to win the game 2-1. Like, unreal. You know, it's just, but, you know, he was a player that, again, I believe totally underrated. But I guess if he'd played maybe nowadays, he would have got a bit more credit for the way he played, but he would have to change a lot about what he did, you know, his lifestyle in terms of his diet, working a bit harder, things like that. But I'm telling you, if he played now, you know, you look at like the likes of the Brentford players, you know, the Ben Ramas and players like that, he would have fitted that mould if he just looked after himself and became a bit more of an athlete. But yeah, Burko, yeah. But again, he hasn't made it. So my three are, so I'm going to obviously name them one at a time. On the left-hand side, I'm going to have Ashley Young. And Ashley Young is the best player I've played with. In terms of, you know, I played with Gareth Barry, who has that special mention in terms of, you know, what he'd done in his career and things like that, and the leadership he was. But Ashley Young, in terms of actual raw ability that he was projecting at the time I played with him, Ashley Young is by far the best player I played with. You know, he used to cut in from the left-hand side, and he used to do the one. He used to just take him down a bit, cut in from the left-hand side, whip it top corner, score, or whip it in the cross. You know, John Carew on the end of it. His ability, you know, having turned up, having played with him in the under-21s, knew him. Turned up, I knew he was good, but he just stepped to another level. And I think, as much as, you know, Martin O'Neill didn't work for myself and others, Martin O'Neill, like I said about Sven, saying to me, express yourself. Martin O'Neill gave him that license to do what he wanted. And Ash took full advantage of that, because when he did what he wanted, he made things tick. And even, we're a side, this isn't disrespectful to us, but we were a side that finished in the top 6 for 3 years in the spin. But we would still, if the chips are down, get the ball to Ash. Not, oh, let's try playing up, like building up, blah, blah, blah. Get the ball to Ash as quick as you can. Yeah. We had Gareth Barry in our team. I won't say the other one because
Petrov,
he's Petrov, Nigel Reo-Coker, Stuart Downing. We had those players in our team, yet we still said get the ball to Ash, and more often than not, he'd turn on the goods. And that was the year, so the 2008-2009 season. That was when he got Young Player of the Year in terms of the PFA Young Player of the Year. So he obviously
didn't hang around long. Yeah, I'd say he didn't hang around long, and then ended up winning. Yeah. Did he win everything at United? He must have been there when they won a Champions League.
I think no, he wasn't there. I don't believe when they won the. He came after the Champions League. He was still because they won the Champions League 08, wasn't it, when they beat Chelsea? And he signed after that. So he signed like about 2012, I'm guessing, something like that. But yeah, the career he's had, obviously, sorry, I didn't talk about his career beforehand, but, started at Watford, did I think at one point he was on the verge of getting released by Watford, but got into the team, did well, set up a lot of goals, him and Marlon King, set up a lot of goals for Marlon, and then obviously went on to Aston Villa for £10 million, became a key figure for Aston Villa, obviously moved to Manchester United, and this is the biggest credit I can give Ash, for a player that played with that arrogance, played with that swagger, I'm the main man, to go to Manchester United and play his position, obviously he was brilliant, but then when they said, oh, can you play left back for us? Or can you play right back for us? For him to have the humility to not say, hang on, I'm really good at my position. I'll go play for someone else and play my position. To have the humility to say, no, I want to play for Manchester United, and take a step back and go to right back, go to left back. He went to the World Cup with England as a left back.
Yeah.
And I never ever thought I would have seen that. A right-footed left back go into the World Cup with England, and it was a left winger basically. I never would have thought I'd seen that. And now he's in Inter Milan.
Joint top at Inter Milan, isn't he?
Yeah, he's at Inter Milan and he's playing as a wing back, and it's perfect for him. And he's still, he's a whippet. Again, diet-wise, professionalism in terms of going in the gym and all that, doesn't do that. And it's totally different for different people. He didn't believe in all that. And that's what worked for him. But rarely gets injured. And like I say, he's a whippet. He's a thoroughbred. He just runs up and down that line, puts in great balls, great touch, can score a goal, can create a ball, put a cross in. Yeah, Ashley Young, again, the best player I've played with, and totally deserves to be in my team.
That's great. And how old is he now? Because he's at Inter Milan.
Same age as me. Yeah, same age as me. So he'll be 36 in like the end of this season, I'm guessing. So yeah, he's done fantastically well.
How's his Italian? Is it good? Do you speak to him a lot or not? I
haven't spoken to him for ages. Like I've obviously caught up with him now and then on social media and things like that. But in general, it's always the way when you play with players and things like that. You're usually close while you're there, and it's once you go away and then years go by, you grow a little bit further. Especially the fact that, of all due respect to myself, but he's gone to Manchester United, Inter Milan, and I've gone like the other way. I've probably fallen down the pecking order in terms of towards the Championship and things like that. I'd never want it to seem like I'm texting him, oh yeah, like because he's a Man U player or things like that. Sometimes people get a lot of, I played with him a few years ago. Oh, text Dash. I never wanted it to be like that. So I think that's why sometimes you give people their distance and catch up when it's necessary.
Yeah.
But next I'm gonna go for another player that I would have mentioned in that team that I couldn't mention because he's going to be my team. He started his career at Leeds. Was actually one of the youngest goals. I think he was the youngest goal scorer in the Premier League at one time. He then went on to Newcastle. After signing for Newcastle, he had a loan spell at Aston Villa, but then ended up going back to Newcastle. Played for Newcastle quite a few games. He then signed for Aston Villa on a permanent deal. And then after leaving Aston Villa, he went to Man City. And after Man City, he went to Liverpool. And he's played...
He's got a bit of a reputation of being Mr. Boring.
Yeah, but he's also had maybe 60 England caps, plays every position on the pitch.
Yeah.
I think you'll know who it is.
Yes. James Milner, fantastic player.
Yeah.
Absolutely sensational player.
And when I talk about Ash being the best player I've played with, Millie is easily the best professional I've played with. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily work for everybody in terms of, going in the gym, doing the extras, the hydration, the eating, the meals, everything. But Millie is the absolute. If I were going to say model yourself on one player in terms of by textbook, it'd be James Milner, because talking about diet, workload, like after training, doing free kicks, practicing shots, going in the gym, doing pre-act, doing after sessions, doing gym, doing legs, doing this, getting massage, make sure he does this, hydration. Like I've got a funny story. Like it's hydration. Basically, when we used to go away with England 21s, used to get our hydration checked in the morning to make sure you're not dehydrated, blah blah. And he used to be the lowest every day, basically, because he's up there. He's just literally, he's in your room when you're playing your PlayStation, where like drinking water, like drinking about 10 bottles of water. So one day, Nader Manua, who was in on the squad as well, said, I'm going to beat him. I'm going to beat him tomorrow. I'm going to beat him. Because Millie, again, wanted to win everything. So I'm going to beat him. So Nader literally took a whole crate of waters to his room. And he was just there, squeezing his waters, like belly aches, all sorts, squeezing his waters. Must have drunk about, like, that night, maybe 15 waters. So, like, you're talking about 7.5 litres of water. And then go down the next day, obviously, he said it cost him in the night because he was up and down to the toilet all the time. But go in the morning, do the P test, and then, like, obviously the results get posted at breakfast, whatever. Like, they put it up, just see where your number is. And Millie's looked and he's like, Naden beat him. Like, Naden was like near enough clear. Like, he's like coming from the river. Naden's, it's like point, like whatever, 1.5 or whatever. And then Millie was like, say, 2.5. He's like thinking, looking around, like, he hasn't said anything, but you could just tell like he was a bit frustrated with it. But that's what he was. He was someone that wanted to win everything, win all the little games. Mr. Reliable in terms of what I said about Gareth. Will give you a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 every single game. Could take free kicks, could cross the ball, brave in a tackle. And that's why, I honestly, and I don't mean this like jokingly, if I had to put James Milner in goal, I'd still back him to have a good game. That's the kind of player that he is. So talking about him playing left back for Liverpool, right back for Liverpool, centre mid, attacking midfield, right wing. If I played him in goal, I wouldn't be worried about him, because he finds a way to adapt to the position, and he does the best version of that. So that's the biggest credit I can give him. He's an unbelievable professional, somebody to look up to. Never had a drink in his life, and yeah, even though people say he's boring, things like that, he's a good kid, and he plays it really well. I like his boring Milner things that he does, where he's ironing his pants and things like that. He's
wasn't he cutting his grass with scissors during lockdown and stuff like that? Yeah,
he's cutting his grass with scissors. He had his lockdown 11 with all his favourite condiments on the table and things like that. So yeah, he's really brilliant, and yeah, excellent player and a good guy.
I wonder where he is appearance-wise. He has to be up there with.
He's second,
most
I think.
Appearance. It has to be.
So, I think he's second behind Gareth, but I think Gareth might have maybe 60 odd games maybe on him. So you'd back.
Sorry. I meant like in total. Like these people like gigs and Grezos,
like in
1,000 games and all that sort of stuff. Those appearances, because like he was in the team at 17, wasn't he? So
he was in the team at 16 at Leeds. That's what I'm saying. He was the youngest Premier League goal scorer. So
that's true.
And and that's his hometown club and everything. But like, listen, Millie, if he wants to, could play to his 40, no problem. Because ultimately, even if he isn't able to play that midfield role that he wants to play, the way he plays it, he'd still be able to go back to a fullback or go back to centre half. Like, no problem, because his ability, his work rate, everything that he'll put into his performances is top draw. And like I say, he's one of a kind. I don't think you'll find many like him.
No, definitely. I agree. Let's go. So, other one.
Yeah, so the other one, I'm just going to get up some of the other teams he's played for, but I played obviously with this player in England. He was born in France. He played for Lens, Linares, which I think is in Spain, Rayo Vallecano in Spain. But when he came to England, he signed for Wigan Athletic. So his first club, Wigan Athletic, you might not really remember him there, but he played 96 league games for Wigan in the Premier League. He then went on to West Ham. Played. He is a centre midfielder, but they played him on the wing a lot, and I think he became frustrated. He then joined me at Hull City in 2014, and stayed for 2 seasons before leaving for Newcastle, who had actually just been relegated from the Premier League. He joined Newcastle United, and at the moment he's playing in Qatar for a team called Al Ahly. So I don't think you'll know him from obviously the Al Ahly, but he's also a Senegal international. I think can't. It's a difficult one to give you more, but he's in my team. He scored the winning goal in the playoff final for us at Hull against Sheffield Wednesday, and it's Mo Diarmi.
I was going to say Diarmi.
I know the name. You should have said it. And
Mo
you should have
Diarmi.
said it.
Do you know what? At the start of it, I don't know why I didn't Zogbier in my head. Because did you play with Charles and Zogbier as well?
No, he got there as I think I was technically still on the books when he signed, maybe.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I never played with him. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. So Mo Diarmi.
Yeah. So Mo Diarmi again turned up from West Ham. I'd obviously played against him, seen him at Wigan, seen him at West Ham. Obviously knew he was a decent player, but until he came in the building, didn't realise how good he was. Strong as an ox. Not the one that's gonna, like the Hoddleston, gonna be spraying the 60-yard, 70-yard balls. He can play a pass, but he's the one, if he does come deep, gets the ball, he's gonna turn someone with strength and a skill, and he's gonna get you up the pitch and then create chances, score goals, and he was just, like I say, the engine that drove you on. It was all good. We had Tom and Jake behind him, so he had that maybe license to join in more and create stuff. But a silky player, skillful, could beat a man with a skill, could beat a man with just by knocking it past him with pace. But yeah, I couldn't not have him in our team after scoring the goal in the playoff final to get us back to the Premier League. Even though he Judas us and left and went to Newcastle, had to have him in the team. Like his ability, like I say, very, very underrated in my opinion. I think there was like years ago, I think after he was leaving Wigan, there was a rumour he was going to go to Arsenal actually, I think something happened with his medical. But if he was in the Arsenal team, he would not have looked out of place. That's how good he is. And I think he's a player that, as I say, would be slightly unlucky because, with all due respect, us at Hull, we played good football or tried to play good football, and he was good footballer in our team. But, if he was at Arsenal where he's able to lay on 5-6 chances a game for players and getting assists and getting things like that, his name would have taken higher stock than it deserved. So that's why I've got Mo Diarmi in there. Great footballer, quiet guy, kept himself to himself most of the time, got involved a little bit. But yeah, gentle giant. But yeah, if you cross him, he's strong as an ox. And did
he score enough goals though, do you think? For an attacking midfielder, do you think he scored enough goals?
I think
if you're playing one striker, you need those three to chip in with goals, don't you?
Yeah, Ash will score you goals. Millie will score you goals. But I think if you've got that kind of supply, my goal scorer is going to score. Don't worry, my striker, he's going to. It don't matter. You just give him one chance, he's going to score. So that's what I'm banking on. I'm banking the fact that with those three in the attacking midfield, with still with GB and Huds behind them, this guy's going to have enough chances to score. So Mo can be the one that that will sometimes be the decoy to run past and make them bursting runs in behind to make the space. But yeah, he's a top talent, and like I say, I think he could create some chances for my goal scorer.
Who is?
And before you name the striker, I did mention obviously that, and I try and get different questions and stuff. And now this is something which has been in my head. I'm in my mind from when I've obviously watched you play the game. I have to mention it because it's the FA Cup final. I mean, everyone's boys' dream is to play in the FA Cup final, as you know, Curtis. You played in there and scored 2-0 up. Now, I mean, just talk to me, about the whole experience of being able to be playing in the cup final, to score in the cup final, because I watched the game, and I think it was the year after Boise as well. I think I'd lifted it. I think, am I right?
It was, yeah, that's right, yeah.
And I'm thinking, two Luton boys, and I'm thinking 2-0 up now. Just come on, 2 Luton boys are going to lift the cup. I think that's going to ex-Luton boys and whatever.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Just to press me now, Marv. It's the only thing that I can describe as, in one, it was the peak and the pit of my career. You know, we always talk about being a kid, playing in the playground, playing Wembley with your mates up against the wall with some dirty tennis ball that you've found. Do you know what I mean? Like, and scoring the goal and peeling away. I lived that moment. You know, I lived that moment. I scored, put us 2-0 up after 8 minutes. And obviously my celebration, if you remember, I just literally peeled off running away like a madman. I didn't do no dance or anything. I've scored in the cup final, mad. Just all them emotions of, like I say.
I think I would have passed out. I'll be honest. I think I would have passed out.
Yeah.
I really do. I swear. Because I got like goose pimples and everything. When
I'm
you score,
out.
there's a great finish, by the way, because it was like a second chance, wasn't it? You hit it, save, and then you squeeze it in. I got goose pimples and all that. I think I would, if that was me on that field, I think I would have passed out. I would have done.
I think the adrenaline, like I say, of the excitement of the game, in terms of the adrenaline took over me when I scored, roaring. But then I think if you see me, I lay on the floor, I calm down, and as soon as I get up, I'm back on focus. I'm back on, right, that's it, back to it now. You know, I had that 10, 15 seconds of joy, of giddiness, of childhood fantasy. And then as soon as I think Huds picks me up off the floor, I'm back to focus, and I'm just looking, concentrating. But that, again, talking about playing in the cup final, amazing opportunity to play at Wembley first and foremost in the semi-final, then to play there in the final again, captain your side in the cup final. You know, meeting Prince William, introducing him to your team, things like that. It's all the whole occasion. But you know, just because we were there and we were playing Arsenal, we weren't there to make up the numbers. We weren't there for a day out. We were there to try and do something. You know, this might be the only chance we have to win something. And for me, it has been so far in my career. Only final I've played part in, obviously, other than a playoff. So for me, it's everything. You know, I was. It's the best season of football I've ever played. So I backed myself. You know, I was ready for this game. This was my level. And unfortunately, you know, we probably, even being totally honest, went 2-0 up too soon.
I disagree with you. See, I mean, if someone said to me now, and I was going to ask you that question, well, do you think you could have gone 2-0 2? Listen, I'll take 2-0. I don't care if you're playing Real Madrid or whatever. I'll take 2-0. And I get what you're saying, and probably psychologically is like you've still got like 82 minutes to go. Like, but I'll take 2 goals. It's better. I'd rather be 2-0 up than 2-0 down.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that is a case, but it's just, you know, Arsenal at the time were a wounded animal in the league. They weren't challenging for the title as they would have liked to. So they hadn't won anything for 10 years. Since, I think it's coming up to 10 years since they'd last won the FA Cup, when Vieira scored the penalty against Manchester United. So I think it was coming up to 10 years. They hadn't won anything. So it was massive for them. And by going 2-0 up that early, if we'd gone up 2-0 up maybe just on the stroke of half time, it would have meant they would have come out gung-ho, and it would have meant we maybe could have exploited them on the counter-attacking open spaces. But all it meant is Arsenal calmed it down. You know, we nearly went 3-0 up. Alex Bruce had one cleared off the line as well from Kieran Gibbs. But they calmed it down. They kept the ball. They kept doing what they do. And unfortunately, the worst thing that happened to us, they scored, not literally just before half-time, but they scored before half-time. So when they went in at half-time, the team talks a little less aggressive, the tactics are a little less aggressive because they've now got 45 minutes to rectify it. And that still sticks with me, the fact that, you know, the goal, you pick up the bones out of everything. The goal, you know, Alex Bruce makes a rash tackle, so the free kick they get. But Griggsy, Alan McGregor, the goalie himself, said he should have saved it because he steps to his right and then goes left, and it's too late. It's Hansi Cazorla puts in the top bins. And then the second goal was, one, it wasn't a corner. So that still haunts me, if you really want to know. It wasn't a corner. And then, you know, the way they score it comes in. And, you know, if you get a centre-half come and power it in, because they've jumped really well, timed it really well. But it was a case where I think the ball was headed by, I can't remember what player, but headed by maybe McShane onto the back of Jake Livermore.
Yeah.
And basically, Koscielny's just looking like that, where the ball's going, it bounces off, and it just bounces in front of him, and he just toes it into the net. And then from there, you know, we ran out of legs because we'd been hanging on already. This was 70 minutes. We got to 90 minutes, but then in extra time they bring on Jack Wilshere and Thomas Rosicky. They bring on 2 international players, and we're out on our feet. So yeah, in the end, Aaron Ramsey scores a fantastic winner. But for us, for me personally, it was obviously very gutting. And the biggest thing I said to people, after the game, I was so focused still. I still had that adrenaline of shaking hands, congratulating people. I'm a gentleman. I've lost the game, but I'm not going to sulk. I'm going to shake your hand. I'm going to look you in your eye. And a lot of them, to be fair, like, you didn't deserve that. You didn't deserve that. A lot of the Arsenal players, Mertesacker, people like that, I'm thinking, yeah, but for me, it means nothing. I deserved it because we lost the game. But I'm picking all the players up, picking my players up, patting on the back. Listen, we gave it a good go. Yeah, no one expected anything of us. We gave it a good go, blah, blah. But the thing that killed me was Thomas Vermaelen, who hadn't even played in the game. He was on the bench. He'd been injured and, had a few problems. Didn't even play in the game. He walks up the stairs, obviously royal box, everything, blah, blah. And then he lifts the trophy. Now, for me, I'm the captain who just scored in the cup final, puts your team 2-0 up. And this guy who hasn't kicked a ball is now lifting the trophy that should have been mine. And I just turned into a blubbering wreck. Literally, that was it. It was weird. It was like bang, the shower come on, just eyes were streaming, crying my eyes out like a little baby. But ultimately, it was what it was. Got over it. But I think a big disappointment for me that season as well is after all that, I didn't get a sniff for England. If I'm being totally honest, I think I was playing out my skin. Regardless of me playing for Hull, I'm playing in the Premier League week in, week out. I'm battling with the likes of the Lukakus, the Rooneys, whoever it is, and I'm holding my own at a Hull team. So it should, if anything, it should get more credit.
Yeah.
But I think at that time, our centre halves weren't that strong. They weren't as England. We didn't have the strongest centre halves then. So I think I should have at least got a shot at it, even if it were for a friendly or something, to see what I could offer. But yeah, that never happened then. And like I say, I honestly believe I probably deserved it more then than I did when I was first at Aston Villa. But hey ho, it never happened, so I'll have to get on with it.
No, I mean, and thank you for sharing that with us. Again, like I said, I was a fan as well of obviously that day, and I was curious just to see how it felt like doing something which, like you just said, everyone dreams of, playing the cup final and scoring the cup final. Unfortunately for you, you ended up on the losing side, but I mean, that's one of those things. Yeah,
no one will ever take that away from me. Listen, that individual moment, nobody can ever take away. So even, I could show my grandkids, my great grandkids in however many years' time, your great granddad scored in the FA Cup final. And nobody can ever take that away from you. However many goals, there's some players that have scored hundreds of goals in their careers and they've never scored an FA Cup final. So I've got that on them.
Talking about goals, now onto the striker.
On to my goal scorer, yeah. Even though, he's scored a few more than me. So again, played with some good strikers. Carew, Mountain, lazy, but strongest man in the world. Knew where the goal was. Good finisher. When you think about a big guy, you think he's more going to bundle people and roll it in. No, good finisher, John. 1v1, you'd fancy him. Like, as you're going through, you think, yeah, he's sticking this away. Played with John, played with Gabby at Bon Lahore, same club. Gabby could have been whatever he wanted. If I'm being totally honest, when at that time at Aston Villa, similar to Ash, that season, he was playing for England. He was on fire. And I think he could have kicked on if he really wanted to. I think the biggest thing for him is that he was playing for his hometown club, the club he supported as a boy. He was satisfied. And I think, he ended up obviously staying for Aston Villa the whole of his career, which, fair play, a one-club man is admirable. But I think, if he really kicked on, he could have gone to the likes of the Arsenals or the Chelseas or the Cities with like challenging for titles because he was that good at that time. I also played with Kanu at West Brom, magician with his feet. I think he's got the slowest and furthest nutmeg on me that anyone's ever done. He made me from about 2 meters away, but I think it went through my legs at about 2 miles an hour. It was he just did this thing because he's got the size 14s. He did this thing with his foot where he obviously just flopped it, but like I kind of half stepped towards it and it just trickled through my legs and I didn't have time to close the legs. And I thought, do I try and close them and just smash my knees together or just accept the greatness that Kanu's brought out? But yeah, Kanu was brilliant, great footballer. Kev Campbell was there as well, another former Arsenal player, Robert Earnshaw. I played with Emil Heskey at Aston Villa. Brilliant. Again, I believe underrated. People used to speak about his goal record and things like that, but I think it's well documented. Ask any striker that's played with him who their favourite striker to play with is him, because he's selfless. You know, he still scored goals, still a great finisher himself, still got goals, but he was selfless. So if it meant that he takes one for the team and then Michael Owen scores 2 or Gabby scores 2 or whatever it's going to be, that's what he did. And ultimately he had a fantastic career, you know, lots of England caps, World Cups, everything. And yeah, won the UEFA Cup with Liverpool. He did really well. But the person I've gone for, based on pure finishing ability and based on my midfield three, say creating chances, things like that. This guy, I believe, I'll have to double check again, but I believe he started his career at Watford. I just need to double check. Started his career at Watford.
Yeah, yes.
Well, actually started at Baldock Town beforehand, then played for Watford. After Watford, he famously went to Sunderland, played a lot of games for Sunderland, and formed a little and large partnership with a famous striker that I won't say yet. Then after Sunderland, he went to Southampton, scored goals again, Premier League. Had a short stint at Aston Villa for a year before playing with me at West Brom. And then after West Brom, he's another one that's done the trio. He went to Birmingham City and had 3 years at Birmingham City, and then to Blackpool. And then even after that, he kept going. He played up until he was 39, I think it was. But yeah, played for Palace, and then he played for Leicester towards the end of his career. Played for England 8 times, didn't score. But when you talk about a natural finisher and talking about relying on someone to go and score the goal, if he gets one chance, I'd say more often than not, he's going to take it than not. That's what I mean.
I'd have to play against him, surely, will I not?
Yeah, you probably would have played against him when he was at Watford for sure. Yeah, I would have thought so. Possibly even Sunderland. Depends on.
Yeah,
like
I think both. I think both.
Yeah, because he played with yeah.
Yep. Super.
He was little large with Noel Quinn, wasn't he? Was it Noel Quinn he played with?
Yeah, little and large with Noel Quinn. I didn't want to say Noel Quinn straight away because that just gives it away. But
yeah,
but you're right. But you're right in what you're saying about those 3. It doesn't matter. He'll score goals in that team. Yeah.
Kev had the ability when we were at West Brom. I played with him at Birmingham as well. But when we were at West Brom, him and Diamanti Kamara, Joe Kamara, they had a great partnership up front, and you know, they both scored like in the championship. I think they both scored over 20 goals, and close to 30 goals for the season. But Kev, even though he was older, he wasn't necessarily the major athlete in terms of he's getting around the pitch loads, but he just picked up the right positions. Was still a great pro in terms of in the gym, monster on pull-ups, on core, on everything. Made sure his body was looking after him basically to be able to get out there on the pitch. But on the pitch, he didn't need to run around like a headless chicken. He had Joe Kamara, who was quick, could run the channels, could take people out of the game. He knew where to stand, and be it anywhere in and around the box. You know, I fancied him. And talking about that one with Ashley Young, where he gets it on the left, just moves it an inch to his right foot and curls it in. If he does that, 8 out of 10 are going in. Just because he could hit the postage stamp more often than not. And it's only if he gets a block or the keeper makes an unbelievable save that he usually got saved. But 8 out of 10 are going in. And I've not played with, in my opinion, a better finisher than him. And like I say, just his know-how, the ways he can score goals, he can score headers, he can score tap-ins, he can drop deep, get one and turn and put it in the top corner. He had a little bit of everything. And I worked with him as a coach at Derby as well for a while. But fantastic player, model pro again to look at. You know, talking about where you start your career and where you end your career. I think he was a little bit unlucky, unfortunate not to get more England caps. But ultimately, you know, the era he was in, when I talk about my era of centre halves, you know, you had the likes of Andy Cole, Alan Shearer, Ian Wright. So there are a lot of players that were vying for those places. But great footballer, great finisher, and like I say, if you put it on a plate for him, if you put it in front of him, he's going to score him.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
So,
I mean,
gaffer, who is your gaffer going to be to lead?
yeah, who's going to manage this
team?
11?
So this was the toughest one. You know, even though a manager would care less than if some players would be like, why am I not in the team? But a manager wouldn't care, obviously. But there's a few different levels to this. So I'll give you my examples of. So Sven was a manager I played for. I only played 12 games for him when I was on loan at Leicester. But I credit him with saving my career. In terms of, you know, after I was at Aston Villa, basically my last league game for Aston Villa, I scored. We won 3-1 at Anfield, and then the Thursday afterwards, I dislocated my shoulder for the third time in a month, so I had to have an op. Coming back in the January, I wasn't involved, and I didn't look like I was going to be involved. So I asked the manager to go on loan. Didn't let me go on loan. Said no, you'll be involved. You're totally in my plans. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. So kind of come out with, okay, that's not too bad to hear that I'm going to be in the plans. But what happened was I was kind of eased into the squad and eased out of the squad as quick as that. So it was kind of the January window was open. So it's kind of in the squad on the bench, in the squad on the bench, in the squad on the bench, in the squad not on the bench, and then left out just after January. So I couldn't go on loan because I could have gone to Wigan with Bobby Martinez and also to Celtic with Tony Mowbray. So I wasn't allowed to do that. So basically I kind of was like stuck, and I was disillusioned because I was at home watching games rather than being part of it. And then the new season started, a new manager came in, didn't look at me at all, like as if I'd never been there. And the most frustrating thing for me was, I believe it basically the politics were I needed 2 more games in my contract to get an extra year. So I think they've made a decision that they're going to try and move me on. But if they tell me that, I'll seek to move on. But what happened was, new manager came in, Gerard Houllier, and I had to come on in a cup game, EFL Cup game or Carabao Cup, whatever it's called at the time. And I had to come on because Stephen Warnock got injured. So I had to come on, and I think one of the other lads went left back. So I came on. I did really well. I played for 25 minutes. I think I even assisted a goal with like a big header. It's like one powerful header, assisted, go through, we score. See him on, so that's the Wednesday. I see him on the Thursday. Oh yeah, just to let you know, I know I haven't really been with you and you haven't been with us that much, blah, blah. But he goes, after seeing the way you come into the game, you're ready, you're not sulking, you give that performance, you get the assist. I'm going to keep you really close to the team now. I want you to push them all the way. So there's me thinking, career's saved now. My Villa career, is still alive. Next day, we travel away to somewhere. Squad goes up. I'm not in the squad. So he wanted to keep me that close that he didn't even put me in the squad. I'm thinking, even if I'm in the squad and not on the bench, it still would have been a step up for me. Right. So that kind of, again, lower than a snake's belly. But I was fortunate enough that obviously back then the windows, you could go on loan outside the permanent transfer window. And basically my agent called me and said, do you want to go on loan? I said, well, where? Thinking Premier League's can't go Premier League, can you? He's like, well, you go Championship, you go to Leicester. I thought, well, Sven. And that was the draw. It was, Sven, former England manager, has asked for me on loan. He'd literally been there 2 days and he asked for me on loan. So for me, it was like the former England manager wants to sign me on loan. So I thought, yeah, okay, I'll go there. So literally, first thing I did, walked in the door. Curtis, nice to meet you. You can express yourself. I know what you do. Shook my hand and just said, enjoy yourself. And that was it. And for me, that was it. That's all I needed. That's all I needed, because for me, I then stepped onto a pitch and I thought, there's no pressure here at all. Other than from myself, there's no pressure. And then I had a really good first game and I did really well at Leicester. And like I said, I credit him with saving my career, because if he hadn't taken me on loan then, I might have just been one of them, another 5 months out playing. No one sees you. Then no one wants to sign you because you haven't played, and then no one wants to pay your wages, kind of thing, because you. And then I could have just ended up just seeing out my contract at Villa and then just going right down the leagues. But because of that, he saved me and kept me at a decent level. So I credit Sven for that. One of the best I've worked with in terms of what they do when he came into Hull was Marco Silva. In terms of troubleshooting, he came into a squad that was struggling for confidence, not as good as most teams, but he tried to play a style of football that was aggressive, really, really detailed, the most meticulous manager I've ever played with, and taken a lot from him that if I move forward with my coaching, that I would like to implement on my team. Had the team on side because he had this thing where he has to shake your hand and look you in the eye every single day. So whether you've been left out, whether you've been dragged off, whether you started the game and scored, he treats you, every single one of you, the same, and he addresses it by looking you in the eye, shaking your hand, good morning, good morning. So I think it just cuts that tension, that rather than the manager ignoring you when he's left you out, he's addressing you saying good morning. So you've seen him face to face. So if you want to say anything, you can, but also you know that he hasn't ignored you. So I think that was a good thing. But he was a great coach, and I'm really surprised it hasn't worked out for him over here. I've played for Gary Rowett, good. Obviously, Mike Newell was brilliant for me, gave me my start. Tony Mowbray, good football. Brian Robson, legend. But the man I'm going to go for is he started his career as a coach at Spurs. Had a long career at Spurs as a coach before joining Birmingham. Before joining Newcastle, with Joe Kinnear as an assistant. And then after Newcastle, he got Newcastle promoted. But after losing the Newcastle job, he then came to Birmingham. And after Birmingham, he went on to manage. So where's he been? He's been Norwich. He's been to Brighton.
Yes, yeah.
And he's currently at Nottingham Forest.
Chrissy Uten.
Yes.
Yep. So Chrissy Uten. I have to say Chrissy Uten as the total package. Chrissy is the best man I've worked for. What a guy. Almost like, like obviously really close to my father, but he's almost got that father figure within him. That relaxed kind of way of doing things, but good coach in terms of when he's hands-on. If he wants to be hands-on, he's a good coach because that was his background. He was a coach for a long time. Man management, second to none. We had, even though we were a championship, we had a strong 24-man squad, and he had everyone on side. There wasn't anyone in the change room afterwards that are like, oh, he's left me out. Like it was like annoyed that they left out, but it was never kind of directed to him. He's a this, he's a that. It was always, oh, the gaffer's left me out. Oh, it's out of order. Blah blah. Nothing directed to him. And the job that he did with us at Birmingham, considering that, as I said earlier, when with Stephen Carr, we went down and we lost. Basically, I wasn't in that starting 11, but we lost say 10 of the starting 11. Only Kari stayed. So to lose all those players, rebuild a whole team on a dodgy budget because there was certain financial issues with the chairman at the time as well, and then still go and push for the playoffs was fantastic. And listen, like it's easy to say, you've just gone down for Premier League, but as I said, we lost 10 of the starting lineup, and even more from the bench. So we lost obviously 10 from the starting lineup, but it still had we had Hleb, David Bentley on the bench, Obafemi Martins. They were like on the bench and stuff like that. So we lost a lot of players, but fortunately we had Chrissy, and he was a magician with the work that he did. And with his team, he had Paul Trollope, and he had Colin Calderwood at one point as well, but I think Colin left shortly after. But he was fantastic. Man manager, coaching, keeping you balanced in terms of you lose a game 1-0, but you've battered them. He'll come and say, listen, it happens. We just didn't take our chances. We got to take those chances, yes. But we play like that every week. We're going to beat teams. And the other side of it is you win a game 2-0, 2-1. Yeah, we got away with one there. Lads, got away with one. Like, angry voice. Got away with one. Like, we can't do that against these kind of teams because we need to see these games off, blah, blah, blah. We got away with one. And that's the kind of way he was. So he kept you always on the balance, never too excited, never too sad. And I think that really worked with the squad that we had. And again, bringing through a few young players, integrating them into the team. And then, obviously, after having that 1 year with him, he left for Norwich, and I nearly signed for him, I think. I think every single window, I nearly signed for him. So I think I nearly signed for him 4 windows in a row when he was at Norwich. But it never happened. It just never happened. I ended up going to Hull. But it would have been nice to work with him again. But yeah, I'm hoping in the next few years, if he needs someone for his coaching team or anything, I might still be a friend of his, and he can give me a job then. But yeah, what a guy, and like I say, what a gentleman, first and foremost.
That's brilliant. So that was your 11, and that was Chrissy Uten to manage it. the connection between you and I is the Luton connection. And the question I like to ask at the end is your most memorable Luton game, Curtis, and why?
This is actually easy. There's been a couple of really good ones that, in terms of, I could give you just an example of a couple that were important. Were first game in the Championship, playing against the Crystal Palace side that had just been relegated, and Andy Johnson had got the golden boot in the Premier League, even in the relegated side, and then just managed to keep him quiet. We win the game. You start off to a flyer, winning at Crystal Palace, and then you go straight to Southampton on the Wednesday. You beat Southampton 3-2 in a thriller, and then you're going against Leeds at a home game again. You draw 0-0 with Leeds. All of a sudden, you're top of the Championship, 7 points. You're like, how has this happened? But that for me they were really important games because I'm playing against 3 Premier League teams pretty much. And I was holding my own. And that's, for me, that mentality that, I've played these back-to-back. It's not one good game. I've played these back-to-back, and I know I can do this. I can do this level, no problem. And I wasn't really thinking about the next level. But obviously I moved 3 games later. I moved and I went to the Premier League, and that was another step altogether. But they were really important games for me in terms of development. But my favourite game and most memorable has to be playing Wrexham away, beating Wrexham away, winning the title, scoring my first professional goal on St George's Day in Wales. What more can you ask for? It was written for me. It was written for me. We were 1-0 down. And then, I managed to score my first ever goal after obviously 40 odd games of trying, got my first goal. And then luckily for me as well, which made it special, was obviously Coyne ended up getting the winner, which meant we definitely won the league that day. And, to be there, all those fans, it was like, honestly, I'm getting tingles now and just thinking back to it, just the thought of being able to go back to that moment. Like I said, that FA Cup moment as well, but just that moment and that day. And I just remember going into the crowds that people are chucking down like little trophies, tinfoil trophy things. And we went back to Luton and we all went out in our tracksuits. I can't remember the name of the bar now. A guy, Kev, knew, who used to own it in town. Can't remember the name of it. But yeah, we all went there in our tracksuits and things like that, like just running the town basically. But it was an amazing game and a memorable game individually, but to win a title in your first year as a pro, but then scoring the game that you win it, and then, like I say, St George's Day in Wales, it was extra sweet.
Excellent.
Fantastic. I love to hear those games, love those memories of those games, and I know that was it was great watching you grow up as a young pro. And you say it was great at that time because you had yourself, then we had Leon Barnett pretty much take your shoes straight away after, which was another fantastic thing to see. Yeah. Another then young player come through the youth setup. So great to see and great to talk to you, Curtis. And that was Curtis Davies, my best 11. Thank you so much for your time, Curtis. We were both, myself and Marv, really appreciate it.